Right, you guys better be ready. You signed up for this. Just remember that. I gave you fair warning. What was so difficult about that word?
Yeah, there's a lot of hacky ways that you can get a point across without having to do the difficulty of actually doing it.
Your guy's brain suddenly went from right, let's play football, and then suddenly Finding Nemo. It's like I have nowhere.
Little Star Wars.
Yeah, here, dude. We'll have to talk about Star Wars. I did have a very controversial question.
Yeah, we did.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Sharp Podcast. I'm your host Ross Baxter and today is episode 111 of the series. Today we're going to be diving into the madness with these three incredible animators coming on the show to dive in to their 24-hour challenge that they entered a few weeks back to basically just create this 3-word based theme project, and we're going to be diving into the madness of the process that they've learned through this constant back and forth discussion and how to work efficiently as a team to improve their shot and most importantly win the competition, which they did. They got two to three. Was it 3, 2? What was it, guys? Two. So two awards. It was awesome seeing them. I was watching their full process from start to finish, and it's going to be interesting to kind of hear their perspectives and also talk about things that relate to the student education system that I feel is important to talk about. Bloody hell. But as always, guys, we'll start off with good old introductions. Chester, I'll put you on the spot first, man. You can take it away. Give us a wee bit about yourself, and we'll take it from there, mate.
My name's Chester Sampson. I'm a feature film animator at Axis Studios, which is a company here in the UK. Worked at a bunch of places, was a freelancer for a while, worked on lots of short projects, lots of different things. Mm-hmm. Big breakthroughs in my career were like working in TV, so working at Blue Zoo, which is where I met these guys. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a minute.
Awesome.
Yeah, and that's basically it. Animate, it's fun.
Yeah.
I stream sometimes.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a good time.
What's the Twitch stream? Let everyone know.
Chester Animates. There you go.
Oh, everything about you is so terrible.
You sucks. Everything about you sucks.
Oh, everything about you makes me wanna die.
You sucks. Everything.
Perfect. Links in description as always, folks. Make sure to check them out. Same for Arran as well. We'll get to Arran in a second, but first we'll go with Jim. Jim, give us a little introduction about yourself.
All right, hello. I'm Jim Sweeting. I'm an animator at Illumination McGuff. So I'm working on the Mario movie right now, and I've worked on 2 previous films. But then before I was in London, at Blue Zoo, and yeah, I mean all 3 of us went to the same university as well, but in different years.
Wait, really?
So,
I did not know this. All right, okay.
Yeah.
This is making things even easier. Perfect.
Yeah, but yeah, I live in France and I'm confined in Paris.
You're stuck there for good. You
Thanks,
can't
COVID.
come back. Yeah, thanks to COVID. What can we say?
Yeah, but it's all good. Yeah, I'm working from home and it's pretty chill. That's me.
You ain't back TD. Catch the snowball is on the deck.
Awesome. Well, actually, you raised a really important point. We'll talk about that as well later. I want to talk about how you guys, as animators, have adapted to actually working cohesively online, like transferring files, etc. Especially like the process of going through rigs. Like obviously, when you guys were doing the live stream, you guys were sending files back and forth, and seeing how you guys work and how you guys think would be really important to see, just to make people's jobs a lot easier. But last but not least, Arran, once again back on the podcast. Welcome back. People have already heard your story before, but let's hear it again.
Yeah.
The whole thing, just from start to finish.
Apologies for anyone who's already going to have heard this, but I'm Arran Baker. I am a senior animator at Axis Studios, work on the same project as Chester. Mm-hmm. Prior to that, I worked at Blue Zoo with these guys. I've been at Axis on and off over the years, and I also worked recently at Jellyfish Pictures for a couple of years, working on shorts and full-length feature film productions.
Yeah, so as always, folks, if you guys are new to this podcast, but you haven't seen the podcast I did with Arran, I'll link it down below so you can check the full story about how, basically we talked about how to become a senior animator, and Arran shared his story and his thought process from start to completion, giving his insights to how to get to that next level as an animator. But let's start diving into the main reason why we're here today, folks, which is the competition that these guys entered. Arran, I'll let you take this question to kind of just introduce everyone to the competition. Like, what was it about, and what was like the basic premise of this competition?
Sure. So the competition is hosted by Agora and their like side panel called Anim Challenge, which quite a lot of animators are familiar with. And essentially, they was hosting a 24-hour challenge where they would announce 3 keywords, and you would be set in teams. There were different categories from solos to duos and trios. And then we had 24 hours to produce some kind of content based on the 3 words that they briefed us on.
Yeah.
And then at the end, the judges would critique them and then give out some awards, basically. And through that entire process, they were live streaming the entire thing, and they had some big names in the industry come on and kind of give their own 2 cents about animation and just discuss everything. And they even had little interviews in there. And we were lucky enough to be interviewed by Harvey Newman.
Yeah.
In that live stream, which is great fun.
And speaking of that, and obviously we had Jim who was drawing him through the whole competition at the start. Just doing,
Brent, yeah.
Just doing the. What's the phrase? Caricatures.
Yeah.
So that's basically he was doing that, and then you just had Chester eating his popcorn. Basically, that was like and then
we started an hour early because the time zones, we didn't know we had the time zone wrong, I think. So we thought it was going to be announced. So we started 10 minutes ready, but then it was an hour and 10 minutes. So we just sort of sat there on the stream like, okay, we'll waiting
for the prompts to be announced.
Yeah, exactly.
I was quite amused just watching Jim draw, to be honest.
Yeah. That's the content everyone was there for. The funny thing was there was a guy in Chester's stream who then copied the link over to the main challenge stream, who was like saying, go to Chester's stream. So it was like
pre-show stream. Everyone come for the pre-show stream, and it's just me eating popcorn. Like, all right, everyone.
You got to plug when you can, man. When you have the chance, you got to take it.
That was my alternate account. That wasn't even another person.
Oh yeah,
cheeky bugger.
No, it wasn't. I'm taking the piss.
Take the chances while you can, guys. You got to. So as Arran said, so there was 3 words. So Chester, what was the 3 words that you had in this competition?
So they announced the 3 words, which were potion, space, and giant.
Yep.
Not in that order. I think the order was the opposite way around, but yeah. So yeah, it was quite a weird mixture. I feel like giant and space you could make a lot of sense out of, but then potion, it's like adds a bit of a flair to it.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to somehow, I think that was the hard one it was the hard one for me at least. I think we probably struggled with that overall. And I think like the first thing that comes to mind was what I think a lot of students ended up doing, which was someone drinks a potion in space and becomes a giant.
Yeah.
So I remember saying right at the start, we are not doing this. This is like, if you just go with the first thing that comes to mind, you're going to go with something generic, I think. You need to kind of flesh something out and bounce back and forth, which is what we ended up doing. So the process of coming up with the idea was actually a lot of fun, I think. Yeah. We did like there's a website called Magma Studios, which is like Photoshop free online, but then you can like share and both be on the same one at once. So all of us were in a Magma Studios kind of writing down and coming up with stuff and like, oh, wait, what if we did this? And then drew like a little crap illustration of something. Yeah, it was a good back and forth. I mean, I enjoyed it a lot. I think the guys did. So.
Definitely.
Well, that was the part that, like, how can I say it? So obviously you guys have been doing this for a long time. So anyone who's like a new start to animation, hearing your process and seeing how you guys work, especially like I said during these COVID times, we're trying to figure out how do we work better as a team. And watching you guys, like you said, so it was called Magma. What can you say it one more time? The name of the
Magma Studio. Yeah, it's a cool web-based app where you can all draw together in sync. So it was really good for bouncing ideas around and
it's like a shared whiteboard almost. Like if you were in the same room, you would like, this is my idea, and you'd all join in.
Yeah, it was those things that I felt just made things so much more smoother, and plus, as you can tell, it made it more enjoyable. And like you said, the questions or the 3 words that you guys were given was like you guys clearly got like you said put off when the potion one got called out, and it's like getting put on the spot. Like that's the main reason of this podcast. Like, how do you guys react? So if you guys are tuning in right now and you're an animator and you're figuring out how do I adjust when you're under pressure and you've been given a tight deadline, or you've been given something that seems quite complicated, like how do you structure that? So that's what we'll be diving in today. But before we dive into that, I do want to carry on based off what you said there. Why was the word potion so difficult? So I'll ask the first, we'll start off with Arran. Why did you, like, what was so difficult about that word? I know that sounds a random question, but was there anything that kind of ties into like if you know what I mean?
Sure. I think the thing that made it difficult, well, there's a few reasons, but one of them being trying to find some context to make that work with space and giant, and trying to come up with a narrative. Like, one of our key things that we were trying to do is we didn't want it to kind of not make sense and not have like a conclusion. So we almost wanted, within a very short space of time, in a short clip, be able to tell, like, set up a scene and then kind of take you through a journey and then have like a consequence or a result at the end of it. And so we were just trying to find, like, I think potion kind of throws you off in a little bit in that sense for the context, but also just in terms of technique and trying to make it feel unique, because like what could you do with a potion? And like I remember saying, like, transform was one of the words that I was thinking, like, do you to somehow morph using, like, taking a potion? But then that's like super technical and we had no time to do that. So like it was tricky, but I think in the end I would say we kind of played off the potion thing.
You did it well. You cheated it in a genius way, and I don't know how. Like, it was like there was a moment when I was watching. So I was watching Aaron's stream, and there was a moment when Jim was drawing, and then like literally you guys all clicked at once because Nemo came into the discussion, and literally everything just like synced up. And you guys just literally, you went from just like brainstorming ideas to suddenly, obviously, everything clicked right. You got an interesting idea. So Jim, when it came to brainstorming, like, is there any advice you could give to animators through that process to get better at being comfortable at just generating ideas?
Oh God,
I know it's a tough question. Like, take your time.
I guess the process of brainstorming, I think you just gotta just let everything out, even if it's a bad idea. Just spew it out until something sticks.
Yeah.
Because obviously most ideas are going to be rubbish until I don't know. I feel like it's the creative process is a lot of failures, and then you get one like spark that works.
You find something eventually.
Yeah, but I mean, it definitely helps to be able to draw, because in animation, to get the like the layout we wanted to work, we had to sketch down really simple kind of panels of each shot. So like while we were thinking about the idea, I was also thinking about how each shot would work and how I would frame each one and how the characters would be like staged. Okay. Because obviously the first shot you need to really establish the character, and then like you can't start with a close-up, obviously, because you need to be able to introduce whatever the character is that you're introducing to the the audience. No, and then once you've gotten into the second or third shot after the introduction, you can get closer and do some weird stuff.
Yeah, it's
so for our first 2 shots, we had quite a wide angle. Well, it was a mid for the first one, but I guess we got his whole body in, because we didn't want to animate him walking, because obviously in space he can't walk.
Yeah, that was a question.
Limitations. There's a lot of hacky ways that you can get a point across without having to do the difficulty of actually doing it. I think that's part of, I guess, what we'll discuss in a bit with like how to make time and deadlines and things.
Yeah, you have to cheat it. And Jim, you touched on something there which is very important as well. It's like not being afraid to just give your opinion, like getting just ideas out there. I think one of the biggest, like even when I was studying it in university, sometimes like I've always been very kind of open and very talkative, but it was always I also saw a consistent pattern of many people maybe struggling to just say their opinion and get their kind of voice heard. And is there any advice you guys would give on just trying to get maybe a wee bit more confident, or maybe just trying to get your voice heard in the industry, which I know it is hard because obviously you have tasks and stuff. Chester, I'll ask you that one first. I know it is a tough question, but any kind of feedback is great.
In terms of like, there's a bit in Ed Catmull's book, who's one of the founders of Pixar, and he has a book called Creativity Inc. where he talks about the process of them founding Pixar and their like mindset on like company culture and all this stuff, and it's quite interesting. And basically like how they made 10 Oscar-winning whatever films in a row, whatever it was. They did like a stupid amount of like successful original ideas, and there's a bit in it where he's talking about how when you brainstorm, if someone says an idea, even if you think it's bad, just keep going with it. It's like improv. You don't say no to anything, you go along with it. And by doing that, you create a culture where everyone wants to kind of join in and add to it, because you're not shutting anyone down and you're not kind of like sitting on anyone, you know, you let all the things, and then from that, the best ideas rise to the top. And maybe someone that wouldn't have said something now has the confidence to say it. I guess that comes into your question a bit.
Yeah.
That's kind of, but then I guess part of what you were saying was within a job or within the industry. And I guess that's a bit more difficult depending on where you're working.
Yeah,
I think at least when you're starting out, like getting a creative outlet depends where you work. And I guess it depends on the culture of where you work as well. And that's one thing that Bluesy was good at that we'll probably talk about a bit.
Yeah.
Where we all worked. And that was also handy because we had a good group of people there that all wanted to help push each other's ideas and that sort of thing on all of our shots and that sort of stuff. So
I think about ideas and stuff as you're starting out, it can be very hard to accept that your lead or your boss has creative control over your work, except for like maybe really quick productions. But like, yeah, you have to like just get your ego out of the door and just do what you're told a lot of the time, which is hard to accept sometimes when ideas are being, you know, constructed about your shots or your films.
Definitely. I think it comes down to, you have to kind of know, you'll know when the time is right, but basically because like we just said, at the end of the day, it's someone else's piece of work that you're creating for them. It's not yours. Mm-hmm. And so it's different to like a personal project. So in that sense, like it depends who you work for, but most people are open to your creative inputs, but it's knowing the right time to, and not just throwing stuff at them. Yeah. So you'll know when the time is right if they're just like, oh, I'm not sure about this. And that's where you could say, do you mind if I say something? And then sometimes you can put something out there. Or sometimes they'll just say, I have no idea what I want to do with this. Make something up for me. And then that's kind of your time to shine. But a lot of the time they'll have something quite specific in mind. And if that's what they want, you just make it for them.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like our job is to make something interesting. We're like, we have to go from layout where there's generally the storyboards where there's very basic posing and like acting ideas, and really flesh them out into real acting and mannerisms that a human or animal or whatever would do. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the time the director has his vision and you got to go with it.
You just have to go with the flow.
Yeah.
Like, because one of the things that I found during the stream, and like I was a culprit of this, I tend to do it all the time, but for example, when you guys were going through that brainstorming phase, so this is an important thing I want to highlight today, is so when you guys started that brainstorming process, did you find the chat etc distracting? So for example, do you know when everyone's in like a pot and everyone's throwing their ideas, like how do you balance, like how do you know when to stop brainstorming and just to actually move on? Like when does it get to that point when it's enough's enough, if that makes sense? I know it's
the time pressure
not the easiest questions
on this challenge.
Okay, right, interesting.
Like the fact, look, it was basically as soon as we got one thing that were like, yeah, that's good, we were like, well, I guess we'll start then, because like you might, I don't know if
we were so keen to get started that we were right, we just let's go. This sounds good.
We had a funny idea and we went with it. The chat thing's interesting, but I don't know if it's distracting or I think when there's multiple people, we've done some streams before when we're doing a little challenge where all of us are doing like, oh, you have a few hours and you have to make something, and we go off onto our own like streams or whatever, and like that's quite fun when the chat's interacting and you can be like, oh yeah, okay, all right, I'm thinking this, and they're like, oh, you could do this, and now you're almost brainstorming with someone else. But because there was three of us, I mean, I didn't really check like my chat at all whilst we were doing it, because we already had like brain power and we were already coming up with good stuff and the momentum was there, and I didn't want to stop it to say, oh, this person says this. Just wanted to keep it going, you know.
I'm quite impressed by Chester Down with their streaming, because like I wouldn't be able to focus if there was a chat popping up on my other screen. Like I can't focus at all.
So many ideas just getting thrown left, right, and centre, trying to keep up.
It is tricky. Like, one thing that I've always said, at least in my streams, is I love the interaction, and that's kind of why I do it. But at the same time, I like to try and keep it on topic. So if someone starts talking in the chat that somehow starts to diverge from the topic we're talking about, I tend to just say, oh yeah, that's cool, and then move on from it. Whereas if it's like if it's on topic and it actually feels like related to what we're talking about, then I'll go into that and we'll dive a bit more deep into it. But I think in terms of the chat, because I know, of course, you were very active in there when we were streaming.
Like, sorry to cut you off, but it's like that's like I felt like at times maybe because you know what I'm like. It's like I just get easily carried away straight away. It just gives me 2 seconds. I'm just instantly like go. But it was just sometimes that made me kind of step back and think and realize, wait, like when it comes to my process when working in industry, like, is there been times when I've been more of a hindrance because I'm trying to suggest so much? If that makes sense.
I think
it can definitely happen.
Pardon?
Yeah.
It can definitely happen.
Yeah,
like,
it's just trying to get that balance right, like when to kind of like you guys said about when it comes to at the day you're working for a company, like you don't own the shots, so it's getting that balance of making sure, yes, we're all entitled to our opinion, and it's good to share things and share ideas, but it's when deadlines come along, it's like you have to be really just focused and really just prioritize that. Sorry for cutting off, Aaron. Hopefully you remember the point. On you go. I'll let you. I'll let you take it away.
I think in terms of like industry stuff, it depends. It depends on who you're speaking to as well. If it's like one of us lot, like a fellow animator, we just spew things out, and then it's like, oh yeah, I kind of like that's pretty cool. I think when it comes to your lead, then it depends on the lead, of course. Some people are more open to it than others. But you'll get a vibe. It's quite easy to read when people are open to ideas or not. But like, I think with most cases of my leads, they either just say, yeah, just do what you want, or they'll have a specific direction from their supervisor who they're then passing it down to, and they'll say, let's just stick to this. Yeah. But if there's no specific instruction, then they just leave it to your interpretation. As long as you're willing to pitch it and don't, like, I think another important thing is to evaluate all your ideas and then condense it down to like 1, like 2 maximum. Okay. Like, we've had stuff where we'll submit 5 different ideas to directors, and then they're just sitting there overwhelmed, like, I don't know which ones to pick. So if you just have like 1 or 2 ideas, ideally 1, just pick your first, like the one that you think is you're like most confident in, and then pitch that as your idea. Yeah. Then that's something for them to feedback off of.
There's a cheeky way that leads get notes in at Illumination. They're like, well, you know, make a version, save this, and then try this for another version, and that ends up being the shot. Like,
wait. Say that one more time.
So like, there's, you know how leads would give notes to animators to change their shot to make it work better. Okay. Just to make the animators feel better, they'll tell them to save that what they've got right now as a version. Like, they aren't saying no to it. Like, and then they're just like, okay, we'll make 2 versions, your version and the version that with my notes, and then it always ends up being the one with their notes. Yeah,
that's a good strategy. I'm going to keep that in mind for the future.
We're learning inside scoop. we're learning the ropes. But like the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because I was saying actually to Arran before everyone got into the call, like one of the main topics like I thought would be really interesting to hear you guys' perspective on was simply, do you think the process you guys went through in the 24-hour live stream, yes, not 24 hours for education, but something similar to education class that's purely focused on constant time tasks. So like say every Thursday is literally you have to finish a shot. Like, do you think that's more is that more rewarding for the animator to learn, or do you think that's more what's the word, is it's going to backfire against them, if you know what I mean?
It depends on the person. It would work for me because I'm a psycho and I'm ridiculously competitive. And if someone else is doing something and there's a deadline, I'm like, well, mine needs to be better.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like,
I know what you mean.
But there are people that wouldn't work for. Like, there are people that are more passive learner. I don't know, but I don't understand those people. I just want to crunch. I just want to grind.
Yeah,
it's good.
Me,
like,
I think it's definitely like, obviously you learn so much if you have to work. Like to get something out, you end up learning something.
Yeah.
And there was a few like animation jams, or like the BFX thing at Bournemouth where we had to make a film in like 7 weeks.
That's a grind.
Wait, 7 week? Wait, what was it? A short film?
Yeah, we had to make a short film for a charity in seven weeks, was it?
Yeah, it was 7.
Yeah. Oh, that seems like ages ago.
So I guess for context, we all went to Bournemouth University, but we were different years. Aaron graduated 2015, maybe?
Yeah.
Jim was 2016, I was 2017, so we're a year apart from each other.
Yeah.
I think at different times, well, me and Jim did it at the same time. We all did, they do a summer competition for the BFX Festival, which is like they do a festival which is like talks and different things. It's like FMX, but in Bournemouth. So it's I don't know if it's a copy or why it's called that, but it's like Bournemouth Effects Festival, basically, which is run by some people at the Bournemouth University. And they also have a summer thing, which you make short films in that time. And I think when Aaron was doing it, it wasn't for a charity, but when we were doing it, was. I think they changed it along the way.
Okay.
So when me and Jim were doing it, it was basically like we were given a script which the charity had approved, which was from like the scripts course at the university or whatever. And then we had to develop that script into an animated ad for the charity within 7 weeks. So that
we also got notes and stuff. Like it was a really good idea to get students working for clients before they even had a job. Like, because to apply notes from someone who's maybe not even in the animation industry, like that's hard to do, because people who are trying to give you direction who don't really know how I don't know. It's tricky.
It's true.
Sometimes.
It's a tricky question.
It was similar, like us when I did it. I think we were the second year to do that, and then I think you guys were the third. So yeah, the second year, like they still had scripts that we had to pick from, and then we had to build a concept around that, and then that's what we pitched to them for them to pick us.
Yeah.
But the thing that was better with you guys is because you had a client, and that's something that you're going to have to get used to in industry. Whereas with us, we had our script, and once that was approved, we had industry feedback. So we had people from like DNEG, Framestore, The Mill, come over to Bournemouth and look at the shots and everything. But we didn't really, like, we had notes, but we never had, like, the direction was always us.
Yeah.
So we, like, I guess we didn't learn as much in that sense, but there's definitely a benefit, just kind of going back to what you were saying before, there's definitely a benefit in doing the grind. I think you need, like, you learn things that even though you have to come up with quick solutions in that short time, you actually learn faster processes that you can then use on a daily basis. So
the hyperbolic time chamber of just animating constantly.
Yeah.
Just constantly.
It can help.
But that's, well, to go off what you guys said, I think, so based on what you're saying, are you saying maybe not having it all the time? So maybe just, like, say if it was say the module was, say, once a month, or there was like a task once a month, would that be more would that actually be a good thing? Like, say if obviously we're just giving our thoughts and stuff, but if the industry in education was going to change right now, would you wish you had that when you were in university, as in, like, consistently throughout the year, so that you're more prepared for the actual speed of animation that you actually have to do while in the job and filming games?
I think it spices it up for sure. Like, it makes it interesting. Like, it stops you thinking about it as an assignment, and it felt like more of like a kind of, not really like a competition, but it was like
it's a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just like it was something different. It was nice.
So to carry on this theme, what would you say? So I'll go with Chester this time. What do you think you learned from doing the challenge? Like, we'll go around everyone, but is there anything particular, or was it just a fun experience? Was there anything new that maybe you didn't expect, or anything that you got better at by participating, or anything or is there any reason why you'd recommend people to do it?
I almost feel like for me, it's been such a long time since I've done something like this, since university, which is like 3.5, 4 years ago or whatever for me, and even longer for these guys. Look, it was like a nice reflection on how far we've come, and it's like, wow, this thing's probably better than like the film we spent 6 months on at university and we did it in a day, you know, like it was just a nice, like, it was like progress pics if you're into like gym working out stuff, and you it's like you finally took your new progress pic and you're like, oh yeah, all right, we've come a long way.
Flexing our brains.
We're flexing our animation brains. In terms of learning, I don't know. I feel like it's just for me, it's like a summary almost of everything in a crash course manner, rather than like specific lessons. That's kind of my takeaway.
So it's basically seeing how you adjust, or how you're reacting to being under this certain deadline. Like, are you obviously performing well? Are you guys working as effective as you possibly can? And as long as you're working well, which you obviously, I think the big advantage you guys had, which was great. Obviously, I know you had some of your friends who were a duo as well in the competition as well, and working it, obviously. I know it's going to sound so cliche, but finding the right people to work with can really make or break anything, as you guys know, just through our experiences of making art. We all have the odd occasion of disagreements. It's just second nature, part of life. But I always agree, like, taking part in these things can really be game changing. You never know. It could really open. It could give you a reality check. Like I said, going back to the main point I said about myself, I got a really kind of kick in the teeth early on, realizing, wait, I'm so slow. I need to get so much more quicker to actually be ready for the industry. So I highly recommend everyone to take part. So if you guys did miss out, I'll put the links as always in descriptions. You can check their animation shots and so forth. But as always, we'll dive into the next questions. We're just warming up, folks. We're just getting started. So these guys, prepare yourselves, my friends. This is just probably not even halfway yet. So. In today's podcast, the main focus is being effective with time, and as an animator, one of the most important aspects is having a good rig. For the Agora challenge, these guys use an amazing free website called Animation Methods. It's a great source for animators looking for free Maya rigs. So if you want to learn more, check down in the description below. Let's get right back into the podcast. So the next question. Right, I love this question. This is a fun question. I'm pretty sure you guys are obsessed with this question. How to cheat and choose the right shots to save time. Ooh. So when you guys were hit with the time, yes, you guys are obviously experienced, etc. But what advice have you had to give any to students to save time with their shots? Jim, I'll let you start this question.
Animate in the camera view.
Right, okay. Yep, okay. Very straight point. That's the answer done. We're off. That's it.
Yeah, just pretend it's I don't even pretend. It is, like, your final product is a 2D image. Yeah. And so even if you're working in 3D, if you're working in a kind of semi or fully cartoony style, you can easily cheat. Like, obviously, lighting and rendering might show the cheat, which it did in ours.
Wait, like, did it? When?
Chester did a very good cheat in his shot where he's sucking the water out of the earth.
Oh, is that when his body's underneath the globe?
That also, but
okay.
It
worked.
But the visible cheat is when I was rendering it, I didn't even look at what I was rendering. I just put light in and stuck it in, and I realized after the challenge was over that the shadow of the straw hits the alien, and you could just see the straw just floating, and he's not actually sucking the straw.
Oh, I didn't even notice that, actually.
Yeah.
I did see it.
Yeah, his mouth is not touching that straw because I was not spending the time to line everything up. I just did it in camera view.
Yeah.
To camera.
Line it up in 2D and it looks great. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Well, thanks for. What about you, Aaron? Was there anything? Because obviously you had the main, like, the first shot to do. So obviously introducing the shot. Was there anything that you, like, obviously I watched your process from, so I saw what you were going through, but was there anything particular that you kind of tried to maybe hide or tried to figure out how to work smarter?
I definitely cheated the legs a lot, because it was a mid shot and you didn't see the legs, and I mean, I did the main contact positions through the walk, but after that, I literally just hit spline. I didn't even care about whether it was going up or down because you didn't see it. There was definitely cheats. Like, I definitely animated to camera, like you guys mentioned as well. There was definitely cheats in terms of like how much he could, because you couldn't see his legs.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there were moments where it feels like he's stepping to when he pushes screen right, like whips over. During that transition, I tried to make it as like fast as possible, but still read it so that you still saw, like, you still felt the motion, but like in terms of space, he probably moved like 3 or 4 times he could actually step across.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't think I cheated too much. It was quite a simple shot, to be honest. He was just walking left and then he just comes back right again. I don't think I cheated anything else. I definitely could have cheated more.
Yeah.
I wanted to, like, I overcomplicated it for sure.
Yeah,
he
turned out
passes...
great, man. You guys won. You got the dubs. That's all
he was
matters
literally
here.
like,
You got the dubs.
if this is my cup, he was literally doing this like every 3 seconds for like 16 seconds. And I was like, why am I doing this to myself?
Yeah.
And so there were so many backwards and forwards constraints. And I could have done that by hand. And because of the way Jim set it up, not intentionally, but he was like,
it's all your fault, Jim. You're
and no, I actually really appreciate that he did rig the straw. It was great.
Yeah,
the only thing is, he didn't say he would go to fix it. I was like, it's fine, I'll just deal with it now. But like the way the straw was rigged, I did end up having to cheat a lot of it. So I actually, by camera, I didn't go into perspective and try and clean it up, but like the straw has to stay in his fingers as he's waddling it around, and that was all just done by eye because the rig was a bit buggered up by that point.
Yeah,
that bit of your shot's really nice. That's my favorite bit, where he's like,
yeah,
it's good.
Here, actually, well, on this shot, it was the sound of it. It was like, woo. It was the part when he just turns right and he sees the globe and he just he just makes the sound effect. And
that's it.
Yeah, just nailed it there. By the way, folks, if you see the acting these guys were doing, oh, it's hilarious. You just see like all of them just. For example, Arran's just walking in his, I think it's your living room, isn't it? You're just recording yourself in the living room. And then, so don't be afraid to act your roles. Obviously, animators always talk about it, but it does make a difference. And once going back to the concept of saving time, it's a must. But,
it gives you loads
the
of
reference
ideas.
is a time saver as well. Like, because the reference is a time saver as well, just because you flesh out the idea. And then basically what you're doing in animation is just making it appealing and pushing things, and that's kind of it really, and making things snappier because we were going for more of a cartoony, snappy style. So that was, once we got the reference in, it's basically just execution at that point.
Yeah. So,
I think that's the thing I liked about that. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, there you go. No, take it away, Aaron.
I was just going to say, I think the thing I liked about that process and having to do things so quickly is you have to go off intuition a lot. At least in my case, where there was ideas in there that I almost, as I was posing it, I didn't intend on posing anything specific. I was just playing around and then found something that I found was funny. And I didn't even care if it was in context at that point. I was like, that's a funny face. Let's just go with that.
Yeah.
So like, I think that was probably my most enjoyable part of the process, was just making stuff up on the fly.
Yeah. I remember as well, like when you guys were trying to come up with the design of the alien. I remember I think it was like Chester was trying to stretch the the antenna thing or something, like trying to figure out a rig, and like, well, actually that's another good question when it comes to what Jim said about the rig. So when it comes to the rig for animators, when you have limitations with a rig, is there any advice that you would that you could give to focus on? Like, what's the priorities when the rig doesn't have everything? I'll let Arran start with that question. Because I know you were coming across, like, for example, there were certain things in the face. No, what was the one? Was it the eyebrow that was weird? Was it the eyelid? It was like kind of.
Oh yeah.
Was it? I think it was the eyelid.
Yeah, I think there was some weird like squashing stuff in the Nemo rig. which we didn't expect. We was like playing around, and there was like a scale on the eye, and I was like, "Oh, I've never seen that before."
Yeah, so I animated both the fish shots, and the biggest cheat in my shot is because when you try and scale the fish up, because obviously we had to have a Nemo and a Marlin, so one had to be bigger.
Yeah.
But I couldn't scale them because whenever I scaled the whole master control, it would just puff the eyelids up and make it look broken.
Yeah.
So in the shot, I just had Marlin really close to camera.
and then he says the famous line, "Bloody hell."
Yeah.
It was so good. But actually, we better talk about this just so everyone understands what on earth we're actually talking about. So what you said there about the Nemo rig there, Jim, can you just break down the kind of rough story that you guys actually came up with?
So I think we kind of stretched the word potion a bit, but
yeah, we did.
Because obviously when you think of potion, you think of the video gamey kind of medieval glass vial with So, but we just went for so there was giant space and potion. We had this giant idea where a guy like a giant alien walking through the solar system, and to get potion, and he's like thirsty.
Yep.
But to visually convey that, we had to have him like visually thirsty. But we thought we can't really have him just like looking tired with his tongue out. It might not look as like it might be read as something else. So we had him drinking a thing and finishing it in the first shot, so that he could then see the world and be like, oh, thank God, I can drink more. And yeah, I think the biggest gag of it was just the size difference, having a giant straw smash into the ocean.
Yeah, and then Marlin's just there like, wait, what does Marlin say? Does Marlin say anything before the straw? No, he doesn't. It's just just afterwards. Yeah.
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 So it's the guy's got like a Starbucks cup and straw, and then he slams it into the ocean.
Yep.
And when you cut down to the ocean, there's I set up a very like I just copied a shot, the shot of the anemone from Finding Nemo, and had Nemo and his dad swimming out like it's another day in paradise, and then Nemo gets obliterated by a giant straw, and then we cut up to Chester's shot where obviously he drinks the ocean, which in which Chester did some naughty vertex.
This is the genius
animation.
part, guys. Enjoy this part of the story, folks. This is genius. This is the part when in the chat I was like, they've won it. This was the part I was just like, when the whole story came together, that just clicked.
Yeah, we made the ocean into the potion.
Yeah,
which was yeah. But, and then to make a bit more of a gag out of it, we cut down again to the empty ocean, and Marlin's just there next to his dead anemone. Fuck. Excuse my language.
It's okay.
I can't say it either.
who I don't remember.
They take the piss out of that in the actual movie, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, the word here, I'm not going to try and say it.
Anemone.
Yeah. We're all struggling here. Because it was that kind of back and forth. Because, for example, before you even came up with the idea, first of all, the one here, I really wished, but obviously I preferred the Nemo one. But when you were talking about, so basically it was like he would go into a room and he'd be juggling the planets. The sun would be juggling the planets. So was it something like that? I'm pretty sure it was something like that. You were talking about football, and then somehow it translated. Your guy's brain suddenly went from right, let's play football, and then suddenly Finding Nemo. It's like I have nowhere. There
was a bit in there where it was going to be. We got to the point where it was an alien drinking the sea, and we had a fisherman, and then we were going to have the fisherman just like do a Wile E. Coyote fall, so it cuts back to him in a boat floating, and then it would just fall out. But then I think it was Jim or someone, the Nemo idea of just like, I think
I found it online. I was scrolling through the rigs, and I just saw the Nemo one, and I was like, I've always
we were looking at rigs.
That's what happened. Okay.
Yeah.
We thought, okay, we have to actually like realistically think which characters we're going to use, because in 3D you have to use someone else's rig or make your own rig, which is not going to happen in 24 hours.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we had, like, fish in the ocean being sucked up by an alien being drunk.
That was the ultimate gag.
Idea.
Yeah.
Once you saw that, I guess it's just clicks, doesn't it? It's like, why do we need a fisherman when we can just do Finding Nemo 3 and have it taken away? Like,
I think like it's easily like everyone knows Finding Nemo, so instantly recognizable. We can make a gag out of it, and there's something I don't know. I think amongst animators, we like to take the piss out of like successful movies anyway, just because it's, I don't know,
Yeah.
being able to have a laugh at something. So like easily recognizable, and everyone's, I don't know.
It also helps
it's,
with
it's like taking the piss, but
No, I know what you mean.
having fish also helped with time constraint, because it meant I could just smash out the shots because they're just little spines with wiggly bits.
Yeah.
So I could get focused on Blender once I did my 2 shots in Maya, because like the other 2 had really complex shots with a big human. So
Aaron's was the most complex, definitely.
Yeah.
I kept mine as simple as possible and just pushed the idea.
I was way too ambitious. Way too ambitious.
Wait, what do you think was well, based on what you said there, Aaron? So what do you think was the difficult part then in that case? Like, was there a particular thing that you maybe wish you'd changed, or what was the hardest part about the shot?
Kind of what I touched on earlier with the constraints, for sure.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, right.
When I was just going through the shot, I ended up having to spend so much time like figuring out how I'm going to, within my breakdowns, like keep passing the cup from one to another. And I was literally just going off my reference because I didn't have time to like second guess it. So as I was going through, I was just thinking, oh man, I've really kicked myself in the foot here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was tricky, but otherwise, I mean, like doing the poses and the actual like my first, before I even started doing reference, my challenge for me was going to be the walk, because I was like, walking is notoriously difficult, but we're in space. I was like, I could definitely take liberties, and I was trying to kind of almost make it as stylized as possible, but still have like weight and fundamentals to it that like I could cheat a lot, which I ended up doing. But by the end of it, I was just like, the walk basically didn't take me any time at all, and I spent so long fiddling around with these cups and straws. I was like, why did I do this to myself?
It was the rattle noise. Here, I suggested that, by the way, folks. So if that's why you won, I'm taking the credit. I'm full credit.
We should have a little small print at the bottom in brackets.
Yeah.
Baxter.
By the way, you didn't use the title. What was the story? What was the cheesy? What was it? Nemo's last straw. Yeah, there we go. See.
Nice.
I had the idea, but you could have been a viral hit as well. But you never.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
we
I
should
don't
have
think we
put a
were
title
allowed
card in.
titles. Were we allowed titles?
I think when you submitted, it was just the team name.
It's just team name, I think.
Team
We
Tryhard.
could have done like a title card beforehand, I guess,
Yeah, I guess we could.
like in the editing booth.
Yeah, but then it ruins the gag. You want it to be a surprise, you know?
I think that's one of the main things that, to be honest, like that was the main reason why obviously I liked the shot. It's the fact that, like, I'm pretty sure as animators, everyone obviously wants to make people laugh, get a good reaction, and think out the box. And it goes back to the brainstorming part that we were talking earlier. It's sometimes you just have to go crazy to try to figure out the best shot. Like, don't be afraid to just try to go as absurd as you can, and then obviously dial it back once you've kind of figured your feet in a wee bit better. And then on top of that as well, what you guys said there, like, obviously you guys are transferring files back and forth all the time. When it comes to obviously working as obviously we're all working remotely at the moment, is there anything in particular that has made your process more smoother online? We'll start with Chester. On you go.
Anything more smooth than if we were in the studio, do you mean?
So when it comes to, for example, working as a team, just in general, anyone who's obviously working at home on projects, how can they make their pipeline more efficient? Like, you guys, like, what do you guys use to transfer files? Is there any? I know there's certain things you're not allowed to share, but just in personal work, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, on this project, we just used Google Drive and just set up a shared drive, and then just dump files in there. I mean, there was no organization.
Okay.
It was very like, oh, which one is it again? Like, because we didn't really label anything. I think we started to label at the end. We started to make separate folders for different things to make it a bit clearer. But the majority of it was just one dump that we just chucked things in and then downloaded.
Yeah.
But because of
Drive.
how we split it in shots, the main stuff that we needed to transfer were caches to give to Jim to get the renders from Blender.
Right.
But in terms of everything else, it was just the initial layout phase. We kind of made sure everyone had everything. So all the custom stuff we made, like the custom rig, like the modification of the rig we used, and the straw rig that Jim made, and the environment that Jim made, we were all shared early, and we made sure that we had everything so we could just animate and then hand it back over. we didn't want any back and forth during the process. It just wanted to be like, get everything set up, ready to go.
Of course.
Go, give it back, done. Like, just keep it as simple as possible.
Perfect.
Yeah, there was no like online cloud referencing system. We just chucked stuff over and downloaded them.
Yeah.
Because it was so quick. Like everyone had their own shot. The environment I did for them was just spheres for the planets. It was pretty basic.
It's so good though. I was saying to Arran, it reminded me of Looney Tunes. Like it gave me that. What's the famous character?
Space Jam?
No, not Space Jam. Who's the famous Looney
Martian.
Tune character? The Martian. Yes,
Oh.
it reminded me of that guy.
Marvin.
Pardon?
Marvin,
The Martian.
Yeah.
What's his name again?
Marvin.
Is that? Yeah, I haven't watched that in ages. I need to go back here. I was talking. I think it was actually Arran as well. I was talking about amazing TV show. It was by Hanna-Barbera. It was the Jetsons.
The Jetsons.
So good. If you guys have not seen Hanna-Barbera, the Jetsons, you're
Is that
missing
the
out.
space show?
Yeah.
Family.
I
yeah.
love
Yeah.
that. If there was any kind of flying ships, I would have been spamming that in your guys' Twitch chats to go that.
The sound effect that they have when a spaceship flies is just so iconic.
Yeah,
Just
it's
to,
like George Jetson.
I just want to do a little feature in here. So actually, when I worked on our final major at uni, we was actually heavily inspired by those cartoons, like the Flintstones, all the Hanna-Barbera stuff.
Yeah,
And in the background of one of our shots, it's basically set in like a retail store, and there's a fridge. And in the background, as the shots cut back and forth between them, it has like Dick Dastardly and
Really?
and Muttley going by, and it has like Flintstones and the Jetsons are in there as well.
you can't hear wacky races. You can't beat those
Yeah.
days. Those were the peak.
So good.
Well, we got. By the way, as always, folks, you guys know question time will be coming up shortly. That's where we bombard everyone with most random questions of all time, and the guests have to answer it. So, the next question on the episode is going to be the last question before we get into the fun section, which is question time, as always. If you were to do this challenge again, what would you do? Is there any? If you were to do it differently, or if you had more time, what would you add? What else would you do to take the shot to the next level?
No constraints.
No constraints. Just instantly
Do
just
you
no
mean
constraints.
if it's the same limitations and themes? Just if we had more time, what more could you do to it? Is that kind of what you're asking, or is it more what would be do within that time to make it even better if we were to do it again? What kind of mistakes we made along the way?
So, so the second one, if there's anything you could either to make it better, is there anything you wish you had in the shot, etc.?
I think it's like I don't know. I was pretty happy. I thought it was alright.
Yeah, I thought it was great. Well, of course you won. You won the thing. But it's nice to hear your perspective though. Was there anything that you wish you could add to the story, or do you think maybe actually less is more? Like that probably is the reason why it was so successful was you kept it simple, but obviously you added the twist at the end, which made it 10 times better, and obviously like the concept of the planets actually becoming the potion.
Yeah,
like that's
I
where
think,
the main thing happened.
I think there's a level at which you can overcomplicate something. Something I've been learning recently that Jim's actually been teaching me a bit about is if you have too many beats or too many things that you're trying to get across within a short amount of time, you can just confuse the audience, and you just want to keep it simple and just like clarity.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that there's some animation-y things within there that could be more polished. But in terms of like the acting choices that we came up with, well, at least I'm talking for myself here. So the acting choices I came up for the part that I did, I was pretty happy with them. I don't know if I could come up with anything funnier within that moment. I'm sure I could animate it better if I had more time, but like in terms of like just getting something out that gets the idea across and that helps with the gag, like I was pretty happy.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's like I'm not sure if anyone else wants to add on. I've actually remembered there's one thing that we have to talk about. We have to talk about Blender and Jim's madness, so we'll have to dive into that as well.
I
almost forgot about that, Jim. I apologize.
No worries.
To answer the
question, I probably would have spent more time doing a bit more, like worrying about how the renders looked. Like obviously, I rendered out Chester's shot with the straw, like cheat very visibly on his like the shadow was very visible.
I didn't
see it.
I know.
I didn't see it at all.
I didn't even know, so I'm gonna have to look now. And
I saw it like as we.
It's going to drive me mental now when I see it. I'm going to be like, Jim, how could you put that in?
Yeah.
that was my animation.
Shall I share my screen and show the the shots then?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, far away.
Okay, I'll press share screen. All right. Okay, it has to be.
Wow, that's so obvious. I didn't notice it. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at it.
There you go, Jim. You have the
Thank
power.
you.
God.
I have the power. So a lot of the style it was achieved thanks to this Canadian studio, or like bunch of guys who are called Lightning Boy Studio, and they've created this like library called Lightning Boy Shader, where you can really create the. Oh, hang on. How do I get into? I'll just do this.
You just give me an idea for the podcast. This could be the new layout. This from now on, add this kind of background with visual effects. I like it.
This was the cheat because I couldn't scale Marlin. So Marlin's actually he's actually here.
Wow,
I didn't
really
know that.
far.
Oh, that's funny.
It's like
Okay.
if you look at the camera view,
Is the lens super long then to flatten them out?
I think
Wow,
so.
I did not notice that.
yeah.
Right? Okay, that's genius.
See? And even in the last shot, I had the same setup, but because it was Marlin, I had to. Well, let's see if I can find it. It was the shot 4. Motion scene 4.
Probably.
Yeah. So see, there he is. I can't smooth shade in layout in this view, but then if you look at this, I can zoom on him.
Whoa,
he's nowhere near.
He's
Even the
nowhere near.
shadows cheated.
Wait,
Amazing.
so why
Why did you
that?
have to do that?
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to scale this up because that's a lot of stuff, and it was already there. I don't know. It was such a rush thing.
Okay.
Look at the focal length. My God.
Yeah. So was it a time limitation because scaling it up causes issues and you didn't have time to fix it all? So you just
Well, basically, when I was animating it in Maya, I didn't think about the shadow. I just did it in camera view because
Yeah. You were just looking at composition in camera.
yeah, I
You
left
wasn't
him where he
worrying.
was because obviously I'd animated the first shot, then went on to this one. I didn't do any preparatory layout, so I just animated the first shot and then went to this one, and then he was already here. So yeah, I just went straight to this and then made a little geometry for the shadow.
don't do this
Clever.
at home, kids.
No. And then I had to quickly model the anemone, but like out of water, so it just went down. So I used some curves and then made them into geometry, the Bezier curves. But yeah, the first shot is the big shot.
Gives you my janky animation.
Actually, well, so this one was quite like I used like a wave deformer to make this kind of wiggle.
I love that. That is cool.
So good.
This
And
is
then
such a
this-
good shot. Yeah.
This was actually a bit cheeky because my friend Louis is an effects, like he's an effects TD, and he made this ocean for me ages ago for something else, and I brought it in and changed the shaders.
When I first saw it, it kind of reminded me of sand dunes.
Oh yeah. If you look at it like this,
It looks like
I added a gradient to fade it out so that it fades into the distance.
that sure is so big.
Oh, yeah, that's the straw. And then the shaders basically zooms in the way. Hang on. In here you can look at the shaders, and so each thing. Let's look at the straw. The 2D rim light. Each one's it's a node-based system. Straw, please.
So when it comes to Blender,
we go.
would you say it's for animators? It's actually very, it's a very kind of, well, I don't want to say straightforward, but would you say for improving maybe like instead of just handing just a standard play blast, this allows things to be better quality so basically you can generate better looking shots quickly.
So it's a mixture of. Well, I'd say it's for generalists basically. Blender. Personally, I haven't even animated in Blender yet.
Okay.
I'm kind of dreading it because the hotkeys are so different, and the hotkeys are actually window based. So if I want to press play here with spacebar, I can do it in this window. But if my mouse is down here, yeah, it will work. Okay, but I can't use non-global hotkeys. So here I could go. Oh dear, I'm still learning Blender.
That's okay. Thanks for showing it.
But yeah, it's just I'd say it's great for getting a whole production through quickly. And the reason I thought we could do it in Blender is because I already learnt this tune shader with Lightning Boy Studio, and then I saw some tutorials by Luciano. Aaron knows him very well. He's an animator now at Sony, and he said like there's no excuse now for viewport play blasts. Like this can be done so easily by bringing in alembics of your Maya scenes and just rendering it with very basic shaders and lights.
Yeah,
it's really cool how you can just make this happen so quickly.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like when we were talking earlier in the podcast, it's trying to figure out. Well, we do it all the time, just as artists. We're always trying to figure out how to make better quality results in a shorter period of time. And if this works in your favor for your pipeline, this is a shot I love. Yeah, this is
just a shot. I'm not sure what Aaron's is.
The whole just the aesthetic that he built.
Look how broken he is. Look how broken he is in perspective. This is.
Oh yeah.
He's just like awkwardly twerking over. I don't know. There's so many cheats in this shot.
But it's the style, though. I think you guys pulled it off really well. It just the fact that it's like you guys were able to render this really quickly. It wasn't like I think it's great for the short time period that you had.
Yeah,
Definitely.
no, Jim smashed it with all of this stuff. He was
Jim carried hard.
Yeah.
To get the outline effect in Blender, you can. So if you set the geometry, you go into the modifiers. You can get the solidify thing, which you can use to kind of extrude the geometry out.
Right.
And then with flipped normals, you can only see the geometry that's extruded out from behind. So like with backface culling, you can't see. So if you had backface culling off, he'd be colored black. But because the geometry we're looking at is invisible apart from the back side, it creates the cell shaded 2D outline.
Nice. Awesome. So what I'll do, as always, folks, I'll be showcasing the whole kind of shot in the background, and I'll make sure to link the videos to the final shot. From now on the Student Art Podcast, I would like to showcase your artwork on the show. All you have to do to have the chance to have your work on display is share your favourite portfolio piece as an ArtStation link or Vimeo link in the comments section below. Let's get right back into the podcast. It is time. You guys have been answering so many questions and I appreciate it. But now it's time for the chaos. This is the section of the podcast where I ask the most random questions of all time and the guests just have to answer it. Simple rules. Let's get straight into it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Jackie Chan Adventures? If you had to choose one, what would you choose?
Jackie Chan for me.
Oh, this is going to be so much conflict because I struggle with this question so much. Did you guys all watch it?
I watched both.
Both.
I'm thinking about it.
It's not here. I only thought of this question today. I was thinking of these questions. I was like, if I got asked this question, I have no idea how I'm going to answer this question.
I watched neither, but I like the premise of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's just so silly.
Yeah.
And you can go crazy with it. It's great.
It's definitely more old school, and I do love it, but I definitely watched Jackie Chan Adventures more. That's the only reason. So there's a slight bias there.
I had the medallions. I used to have the magazines.
You have the trading cards.
Yeah,
for the
did
magazines.
you get them?
So
yes.
good.
Yeah, I had the same.
There was nobody, literally growing up, there was nobody in my area who had any of the cards. I had all of them. I had all the medallions.
Yeah. Did you have the case?
The silver one. Yeah, and then I had
the
so
thing.
good. Dude, this is why I love this part of the podcast. You just like the nostalgia, man.
I'm pretty sure there's even a VHS recording of like my sister's 5th birthday, and there's me and one of my best mates bouncing on a bouncy castle, and we're singing the Jackie Chan theme tune.
Awesome. wait, my brain's kind of just gone blank. What was the theme song again? Aaron, sing it.
I can't remember I remember a lot of it was instrumental. It was just like do.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
This is going to sound. This is another great show. So, what was the? Do you guys remember CBBC? Right, there was this like 3 Zumo brothers.
Yes, the Super Duper Sumo.
Yes, that was another
That
great
does
one.
ring a bell.
Sick.
That was
sick.
great.
Are we the same age, Ross? I think like
Yeah,
these guys are too much older than us.
Yeah, old folks, 1995.
Oh yeah, same.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right squad.
When I was
the old
when I was 6, we like the whole family moved to Switzerland, so I got kind of I got kind of
Missed out on a phase.
yeah, I missed out a lot on English cartoons and even,
What did you
even
watch?
American cartoons.
What did you watch, Jim?
Well, I had like French Cartoon Network, which
Okay.
which was like stuff that aired like 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I watched like loads of Genndy Tartakovsky stuff, like Samurai Jack, Powerpuff
Yes.
Girls, like Dexter's Lab, but all in French. So
Here, whatever language it has to be, if you have time for Dexter's Laboratory, that's all we need.
yeah,
There's never, it doesn't matter what language, if you have to learn it, you have to learn it. It's time for Dexter's Laboratory. You have to watch it.
actually, do you remember that? Do you remember that episode in Dexter's Lab where he learns that he can just say omelette du fromage and any girl will love him?
Wait, did he?
Yeah,
I don't remember
and
this one.
in the
Okay.
French version, he
Go back
just
to this.
says omelette du fromage, so he's just saying cheese omelette.
That's
girls
just
fall
not
in love
even
with it.
relevant.
Yeah.
They don't change the language in French.
That's so
Yeah,
good.
if you just said it in English with like a dubbed actor, like
Yeah.
omelette.
People try to use that line in real life and realize that it doesn't actually work.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's also what every time though I see Dexter's Laboratory, I always just think Fairly Odd Parents. It's like the closest style I feel. Like
It is close, yeah.
like I might be wrong. Is there any other thing that style? Do you think?
Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Powerpuff
yeah.
Girls is very close.
Or it's all- yeah.
Johnny Bravo maybe.
I mean, it's not really the same style, but I definitely think it's underrated. Is Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends? It's
I
a
remember that.
slightly
Wait, say that one more
slightly
time.
late Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends.
Yeah, I know that one.
Wait, what is
It's-
that? I'm trying to remember that again.
It's
Wait.
slightly later generation, but it's a Cartoon Network show, and it has like a little blue character. He literally just looks like a half oval kind of thing.
Wasn't
Okay.
he like a blanket or something?
I think he was just a character. Like they're just like made up from their
Yeah.
minds. But basically, they're like abandoned imaginary friends, and they go to this foster home
Mm-hmm.
where they're looked after. But like loads of crazy story happens, and yeah. But Blue's like a really weird, like hyperactive character who just like gets into trouble and he's super mischievous. He's pretty fun.
I remember the title somehow, but I don't remember any faces yet. I don't know any visuals. I'm gonna have to check this out.
You have to Google it.
Yeah,
like, the style's pretty iconic.
I am googling it here. I always Google these things right after. Right. So, Aaron chose Jackie Chan Adventures. Chester, what are you choosing?
I feel like I'm betraying the team here, but I think I'm gonna go Turtles.
You're gonna go with Turtles.
Yeah.
Which Turtles did you watch? So I watched the 2005 one.
I watched quite a few. I had the Hero Turtles before they were the Mutant Turtles. They were
Okay.
called the Hero Turtles. I had that on VHS.
Right.
And
Awesome.
then,
Nice.
And then I watched I think it's probably the 2005 as
Yep.
well with, I don't know who did that, but I think it's quite high quality for a kid's thing.
Yeah, I think.
I
all
remember
of
it
them
being,
were-
maybe I'll watch it now and be like,
No, here, I
But
watched it last
remember
week.
It being okay.
I was going back. Do you guys remember there was in Turtles there was that famous episode where the robot keeps growing? It's a baby robot and it keeps growing, and then there's like a TV screen with it's basically a fight in a junkyard, and the turtles are fighting in a scrapyard like this robot that just keeps growing and growing.
Is it
I
the
can't
scrapyard
remember.
that's like the trash dump
Yeah.
off New York City?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think I remember.
Oh, these are the best parts.
I
but-
think Turtles was like the first introduction to, like, it was the show that had a lot of what's it called? It's not episodic. The opposite of episodic, like serial content, where like the story would develop over time rather
Chronological.
than episodic. Yeah.
right.
So as a kid, it was like they had arcs. They had actual like story arcs within it, like it was an anime or something.
Yeah.
So they have like a tournament arc in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I remember, and stuff, which is pretty
That's
cool.
cool.
Yeah, that got me. That was like hype when you're a kid and you go back each day, and it's kind of
Next-
like I
next
missed out on
week's the
Dragon Ball Z,
Shredder.
but I imagine
I was
it's
gonna say
what
like
it
Dragon
was.
Ball was around the same time though, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So-
yeah. I missed out on that because I didn't have Sky as a kid, so I
Uh,
had BBC playing Turtles instead.
Jetix had all the anime.
Jetix was good.
Oh, yeah.
I think I actually talked about Jetix. Wait, did I? I think. Do you guys ever watch Galactic Football? I've mentioned this so many times on the podcast. Oh,
I don't think so. No.
You guys are missing out. It's so good. It's like a American anime. It was. I'm obsessed with football, so it's literally football in space. It's like you guys could have done that for the thing. You missed out. See, if you only watched that as a kid, you guys Yeah, it could be another. That's 2 viral hits now. You guys have missed out on. Unfortunately, if it's okay.
There
we'll let
was
you
a
off.
French anime that was always on TV in Switzerland,
Right.
where it was called Time Tom or something, and it was about football.
Yeah.
But like there were these shots where you were like the characters were speaking in their heads. It's just like thought process. During a football game, and they're just running infinitely through the pitch, but it was just like a constant shot of them just running forwards, and it was just never
The
end.
speed lines probably,
Yeah.
but it makes no sense.
Just like Tron, lines behind the back.
Yeah.
Perfect. Be a robot or be an alien?
Alien, because robots
Yeah.
are built by someone else. I don't know.
I
And
think
it's a
there's
philosophical concept there.
Yeah, so you got to think what a robot is, and then like, can a robot be as complex as a human, or being with that kind of?
I mean, technically, like Terminator's a robot, so like that's pretty
advanced.
Yeah.
I guess if we're looking like super future, then robots could just be a human, I guess.
Or like you got that film AI, where the kid's basically human but is technically a robot.
Yeah.
I've still not seen that film.
That's a heartbreaker, that one.
Is it? Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, it's a sad movie.
Maybe not. I'm not watching.
I haven't seen it for a long time, but I remember crying at it when I was like 10.
No, I won't watch it. What was the other film I got told? Well, it was actually spoiled for me. I won't spoil it here, but it's is it Interstellar? Interstellar?
Yeah.
Yeah, my sister literally ruined the whole ending of that before I even watched the film.
Oh no.
So I wanted to watch it because I'm a massive fan of the director, and then she just said, yeah, told me the ending. I was like, yeah, that's not positive. But
It's too spoiled. Yeah, it's more of like a. I don't think the plot's too important. Yeah, it's more like an experiential thing rather than a plot thing. I'd say.
So it's still worth watching.
Yeah, definitely.
100%.
Right. Okay. I'll give it another go, and then I'll say sorry to my sister after the years of ruining it. Right. Next one. DC or Marvel?
For me, yeah, Marvel overall.
Okay.
I mean, everyone loves Batman, of course, but outside of Batman, I'm not that into DC.
Okay. What about you, Jim?
I'm not really
a superhero person.
Into superheroes. I mean,
Oh yeah, you said at the start. No, I understand.
Spider-Verse was excellent, so I guess that's Marvel affiliated. But yeah, I'm not really fussed.
No worries.
It depends on who's making it.
No, it makes sense. I just really hope, because obviously the new DC film came out yesterday, which is Justice League by Snyder. Obviously his version.
Too long. It's like 4 hours.
Have you watched it?
4 hours. No, I can't be asked. It's 4 hours long.
Is it actually 4 hours?
Yeah, it's 4 hours and 12 minutes or something.
What?
Yeah, genuinely.
Is this Lord of the Rings?
Yeah,
the
extended versions of Lord of the Rings, like genuinely.
Right, okay. I did not know that. That's going to be I'm going to have to
The
divide it to
commitment.
2.
Yeah, brace yourself for that one, Ross.
Yeah, 4. I shouldn't have asked that question now. 4 hours long.
I've ruined it.
Go to Monsters University or live in Wreck-It Ralph. Like in the world of Wreck-It Ralph.
Do we get our own game?
Yeah, you can choose anything. You can like literally go anywhere in Wreck-It Ralph, or you can go to Monsters University. And even if it adds more balance, you could even be a monster.
I guess Wreck-It Ralph, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
Wreck-It Ralph.
Monsters University is just like
Really?
the
Right, I
world
did
of
not see
Monsters
this.
Inc. is just the human world, but they're monsters. That's kind of the gag, right? So it's just the same thing.
Yeah.
Whereas Wreck-It Ralph, you can even go into the internet and do whatever. according
I
to
guess
the
you could argue that in the Monsters universe, of course they're using monsters being scary as one occupation, but think about what you could do as a monster as well, and then might open up some options.
I genuinely thought this was going to be the opposite, but I did not see that coming, because I'm going to go with the Monsters University because I love Monsters Inc. You can't go wrong with Monsters Inc.
I mean, I'd like to go back to uni, so you know.
Fair enough,
that part. You can just get drunk all the time, you know. It'll be good.
That's your answer solved. Just ignore the rest of the part. Just,
If there's alcohol, he'll just as there.
Yeah, mate. Uni again would be bants.
Would.
I mean, Wreck-It Ralph would be cool. Like visiting different websites and shit. That'd be cool. Or I mean, plug in a Pokemon arcade game and stick me in the Pokemon universe.
You can. There's a lot of opening there, isn't there? If you can go into any video game or just
and be the main character.
Universe,
that is
then,
true.
Yeah.
Right,
then
okay.
you
never die.
Technically, if you've got the doors in Monsters Inc., then you could probably go to other universes.
That's true. Perfect.
Travel
See,
around.
the conflict's it's kicking off. You love to see it.
It makes it sound like I'm backing up Monsters Inc., but I would
Yeah.
still pick Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
you
yeah.
just see the Monsters Inc. character. What? Oh, everyone's gonna hate me. I've forgotten his name. Who's the guy behind you right now on the seat?
Mike.
Oh,
Mike. Yep. Sorry.
Mike
Wazowski.
Wazowski.
Don't hate me in the chat. I apologize. Okay. This is a tough one. Would you rather be Hades or Genie? Or yeah, that's the question.
They're both kind of trapped to their job, right? I guess is that the question there?
How does Genie work?
so
Can he
the
do
question-
whatever he wants?
No,
Or does he
he's a
have to be
slave
asked
to
it?
whoever rubs the.
Oh, then Hades, he's got
and
to.
Hades is a slave to his job of being Lord of the Underworld, so they're both kind of slaves.
So Hades or Genie?
I feel
I'd
like
go with
Hades at
Genie.
least interacts with people, whereas you're going to be in the lamp for most of the time, and then you're going to get a few cheeky wishes here and there. So the majority of the time you're going to be sat alone in a lamp. I'd rather at least talk to some other little underworld minions, and you know.
But I think, well, I mean, if we're going by the lore of how Aladdin played out, but Genie's out of his lamp a lot of the time once he's made those wishes.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, he's free at the end of it, of course. I was going off the start, I guess.
And the way
Does
he
he
can change
does he
shape
free
is
him
pretty
in
funny.
one of his
Yeah,
wishes?
Aladdin uses his last wish to free the genie, right?
I didn't.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it shows you
I
how
mean, if you were
it's been.
free, then yeah, but
Okay, yeah.
the whole way that
probably
they beat
Hades,
Jafar is by making Jafar a genie and then trapping him in a lamp, and he's stuck there, right?
Yeah,
Right.
the Jafar one, the spin-off about him is a really good film. I thought that was
That
the
was a
Jafar
spin-
one.
I
Pardon?
didn't know that.
Well, there's 4 Aladdin films. There's
What?
there's Aladdin. There's the temple one. The golden. Do you know the one? So basically, they're something thieves. So it's Aladdin, the King of Thieves. Yeah, Aladdin, the King of Thieves is the second one.
That rings a bell.
And then the third one is Jafar's story. So him becoming the red.
The advisor, right?
Yeah, the massive genie. He says become the genie of genies, some sort
I
of.
think I
ultimate power.
have seen that.
Yeah, there's 4. There's and then I'm trying to remember the 4th one, but there's tons of them. I think
I never
everyone
watched
else
any
forgets
of
that.
the Disney sequels when I was a kid.
Must have
I
been
ignored
straight
all
to
of them.
video. It's been-
Yeah,
all
they're
the
good,
straight to
they're
video
great.
Disney sequels. I was like, they're not made by Disney, animation studios. It's
Are they not?
outsourced to Korea or something. Yeah.
Right, I didn't
It's all
know that.
outsourced to Korea and stuff. All of the straight to DVD stuff.
Right, I didn't know
Yeah,
that at all.
Crazy.
Right, gosh, right, okay, right. Next, I don't. Yeah, they're great movies. That's all I care about. Right, this one's next one. So 2 more questions. So go 300 years in the future or 300 years back, but you can never return.
Future, I guess. It's intriguing.
300 years back, you're a slave, and all your kids die apart from 1 out of the 15 that you have, and it's horrible. And we got the plague.
And then in
Yeah.
the future, I got
Future, there's the opportunity of even worse, but
Yeah.
there's also the opportunity is not as bad. So
right. Okay.
Also,
we'll figure it
knowing that technology improves so much and going back would just be so depressing.
Wait, can
knowing
you change things in the past?
Ooh.
what
you
you're
won't
going to
see the
invent
future though,
you're
because
gonna
you can't come
invent
back.
phones,
But
though.
yeah,
That's a good way to see it.
I don't think we could really
I
invent
don't think we'll
anything.
be able to invent phones. We might be able to invent animation.
Having no lights would be terrifying. Just not
No.
being able to see anything.
I just
Yeah.
mean when you say that you're gonna have the plague and everything, it's yeah, but if you knew about all that history beforehand, you may be able to prevent those things from happening.
Right.
I don't think you would though, right? You're just going to be a random slave. You're
Yeah.
going to go to the king and be like, "There's a plague coming, mate. Fuck off.
How do you know who you're gonna be?
Hang him. Hang him. He's chatting shit. He's making
Yeah.
me sound like a bad king."
You would turn up in your fancy hoodie, and they'd be like, "Who's that?" Hang him.
Oh god. Only
suspicious?
the great content here, folks. Only here. We've got the animators on. You know you're going to get entertainment, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Today's episode of the Shootout Podcast. Madness as always. The most randomest section was great. Thank you guys for answering all your questions about the 24-hour live stream. So thanks as always, Chester, Arran, Jim, for coming on to share your journey and your thought process about the live stream. It's been great having you.
Pleasure, man.
It's good fun. Man.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for having us. It's great to come back, and hopefully this isn't the last time we
Yeah,
speak.
more in the future.
We're all good.